Okay. Good morning. I'd like to call the committee meeting for operations to order. Is there any pecuniary interest?
None known.
I have none. I see no delegations. Prior meeting minutes were approved at the last council meeting. I didn't see anything on the business arising.
Right, no task list either,
Yeah. Okay.
no health and safety
I
inspection.
saw that they were not there as well. It's fine through. All right, I guess that takes us down to the arena monthly report.
I just realized I'm getting.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to rush it through there.
No problem.
Well, since you're the lone
That's-
individual.
Take
That's
the five
right.
seat and read Derek's words.
I just recalled that because I printed all mine out and then I recalled that he said, oh yeah, I won't be here. It's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, usually we have a few other things to go over.
My apologies.
No problem.
Great, thank you, everyone. We will, I'd like to give the arena committee monthly report, thank you. Recommendation will be received and filed. Updates from the previous month. We've had a number of repairs that were over at the location. One being Black and Mac had come to and done some work in the urinal at the men's washroom. I will be calling them back just to do some finalization, but they did a very nice job. This particular one is interesting because the urinal is waterless, so we are going to be looking at saving quite a bit more water with that. There's a special new enzyme chemical which also reduces any smell and breaks down any of the urea to allow for less crystallization through the unit. So it's a lower maintenance and lower cost unit.
That was gonna be a question I had when I
Oh.
saw it's gonna save costs and
Yeah.
thinking, how do you do that?
Yeah, the water. Yeah, no, it's
New stuff. Thank
yes,
you.
it is, yes. On the 5th, we did have the H Friendly Expo, which was extremely well received. I believe there was about 2,500 people in attendance, over 106 vendors. Excellent responses from a number of the people that were there, as well as all the staff that were there to be able to help on a setup day before and after. Good collaboration again between Public Works, the arena, environmentalists, everybody was working together to be able to make sure this event was very well received, and I'm very pleased to see that it turned out very well. Everyone was grateful and there was a debrief meeting which we'll speak to next month, so details. So the Olympia has been sent for its biannual maintenance. It is due back in August. There are a couple issues that we've run into with it, but we are getting the service and repaired at this point. OPP, you have used the back parking lot. They were doing some bike training days. Again, it was very well received. And then utilization of the floor rink multiple days for lighting and such, just a bit of an extra support. And there was a number of people from different precincts that were using. Advanced Ice Products, they did the annual board cleaning. Again, we had big help from the staff and Public Works to be able to help support that as well. HSD's come in and completed the fire alarm system suppression, all the details. No issues were found at that point. Surrey Glass did replace that piece of glass in the arena at the end of the hockey season. Wilder Door has come in and they're starting to do the door repairs as per the capital budgeting items. That's underway. Keystone did repair a Wi-Fi access issue that occurred, but again, no major issues. Work management, again, 3 full-time staff, and they're doing the rotation to Public Works when they're not required to be at the arena. There was some boom lift training that was all certified, myself included. We did go up and we did partial physical training at Public Works, and then the partial was like the arena.
Thank you.
Floor rentals, as you can see, it's got 112.5 plus 2 days special event rates, and then the Pacers and 6 road games that month. Regular maintenance, and in terms of the internal and community hall regular maintenance and daily cleanings occurring. Externally, general maintenance of the building, the 3 lights that were good, that were burnt out were repaired over where the Cope site is right now, and Cope continues to use that area. Community hall is continuing to operate. Derek and I will have a conversation with the community hall about just some of the SOP aspects that are going on, but everything is going very, very well. They did make some inquiries about the pedals, but I do have before on the capital details. Concession stand, Red and Co doing a great job, and I will have to also mention during the Age Friendly Expo, they did a wonderful job in supporting the village, and it was very, very well received. They were hoping for they were looking for some adjustments next year, but nothing negative. It was very, very good. We had the generator test went normally. Orkins came in and did their inspection for any pest control details, and HSC was there. The in advertising, pricing is set, but Derek and I are looking at a different avenue to be able to do that, and that's something we'll bring up forward as we move on. Again, for equipment, there was some auger issues in Olympia, as it was previously noted. Customer satisfaction, lots of positive feedback, which I can't say enough about that age friendly event, and the Pacers games. Everything's, the arena is a gem of the village. It really is. Health and safety SOPs have been reviewed according to the health and safety coordinator and follow-up emails with regards to the Public Health and Safety Association. That was all addressed through the month. Nothing in security, operational budgets, capital and operations are set. Everything seems to be going according to plan. We haven't seen any major events in one area or another. Again, quick closing comments. May was very productive. It started with the Age Friendly event, the second year in a row hosting the event, and the organizers extremely pleased. Can't wait to do it again next year. Yeah. The Pacers, the lacrosse team continues the season with 4 home games. Very well attended so far this year. Saturday minor lacrosse and ball hockey, and the programming is also going very, very well. Ball hockey is particularly remarkably busy with the 10 to 12 games on Saturday, which and lots of fans in the stands, which is great. Some small maintenance stuff, but nothing of major issue. Looking ahead for June, we've got the Pacers continuing 5 games at home, concluding on June 16th. And as of the report, there's still a chance for a playoff position. So minor lacrosse will continue the programming, and there's lots of practices and fun games. Sunday ball hockey continues on Saturdays and Mondays of the month. Use some extra floor time. It looks like there's an all-star team preparing for the provincial championship, which is exciting. We'll be able to use our arena for that, as well as on the work management side. The arena staff continue to work with public works and such. Are there any questions, please?
A comment.
Certainly.
Last weekend I was in Moortown for a jamboree.
Mhm.
No concession.
Oh,
Which there's teams from all over, like Windsor, and it's a jamboree, so
Yeah.
you know, like you could like to get a coffee or hot dog or anything, but I just was surprised at that when you have out of town teams all day, and that doesn't happen at our arena.
no. Our Red and Gold does a fabulous job in supporting anything we need to do.
So a lot of family, they ended up doing like tailgating, in the parking lot with hot dogs and stuff, because you couldn't get anything inside. Yeah, I was really surprised at that.
I think to our credit on that, we advertise our scheduling and communicate well with our vendor, so they know when they'll have a full house. So that's good on us to have that communication.
But the jam, it started at 9 and ran till 5. I just surprised me in a big arena like that, but Tim Hortons did well.
Yeah, it's Corona.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Corona.
Great, thank you for that. To receive and file.
So
And
moved.
then, while we have you there, how do
Yes.
you move on to the public works monthly report?
That one I'm very fine. All right, thank you again. Public Works Committee, end of the month of May. Again, recommendation that the committee receive file public works report. Nothing from the previous month. Staffing, we've got 4 full-time equivalents as well as we've got 4 summer staff now from May to August. And we've got the occasional arena, so we're rotating as necessary. For a training, they did complete, as I mentioned, in the arena aspect, we did complete the aerial lift training for anybody that hadn't completed it previously public works. There was also a personal protective equipment policy, which was self-directed, that everyone had reviewed and signed in the office, as well as the heat stress policy. And the other thing is I'm getting all the summer students to make sure that we're following along and they're signing off that they received all this training as well, so. Operationally, nothing really outside or inside the building. I have some additional things coming in the next couple of months, but nothing to mention as yet. Roads, sidewalks, parking lots, both students and staff they did their annual or their monthly catch basin cleaning. As the spring has the leaves starting to drop and the keys and such, the students will go drive around and make sure that all catch basins are cleaned out. It just does end up supporting more of the maintenance aspect, and we don't have to flooding at that point. It's they've done a great job with that. Public Works staff assist with the burial removals, again, over the arena, as I mentioned, for the age-friendly event. Some small crucial items that helped out for the age-friendly in terms of barriers and blockades, and it was very well received. It was very appreciative of the cross collaboration again with everyone. And then downtown flower baskets were delivered to Public Works and they've been installed at this point. We did hire we started in June, but we did hire a community works student to be able to help support that. And that student is, or that person is going around watering the flowers every morning, which is great. He's doing a wonderful job.
They already started.
They have,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's great. It's done a good job, so. The parks and public spaces, so the splash pad was inspected, power washed, just to make sure everything was nice and clean on the concrete, ready for summer operations. There were some small issues that were found during the inspection, but they were repaired right away. Water was turned on, washrooms were cleaned and prepared, as well as the health units did come do their annual inspections of the washrooms and such, and would give us a pass, so we were providing colors, so it was very well received. Staff did install all the details, for the fence coats, the nets, confirmed all the hard surfaces, and the fences were in good condition. A stop area was also put on the south side of that parking lot. There was initially some issues with some people parking in the grass right behind the parking lot. If those 3 spaces plus the accessible space were taken up, they were parking in the grass. So we have installed something just to, it's decorative, but it is also meant to make sure that people park accordingly. Staff removed some faded signs and signage along the pathway in Waterfront Park. We will continue to look at that. We're under review for replacements of those signs right now, just the really faded ones that you can see. Those grass cutting and weed trimming through the village, into the village owned properties and sites is ongoing. Right now it's heavy as everybody who's cutting their own grass. It's quite intense, and there's lots of activities that are going on. We continue to till a number of the parts that require any sand, just again to fluff the sand up, make it a little bit safer and a little bit softer for people that are using the space. Park beautification continued, and that's the end of the roads. Anywhere that's a village owned park, started to put some compost or some decorative wood chips just to again beautify the area. Public staff once again offered support to the local soccer association by lining the pitch at Waterfront Park. So they'll cut it, and on Mondays after they've cut it, they will reline it and paint it. The soccer association is providing the paint. We're providing the hours to be able to assist with that, and they're very appreciative of the help once again. All washrooms, Waterfront Park, Splash Pad, McCrae are open. Unforeseen repairs and a little bit of miscommunication on the initial date of opening. It was open on the Saturday, but then it wasn't open on the Sunday. But there was an issue that we did find at Waterfront Park. They were repaired first thing Monday morning, and they've been operational since that point. Village owned gardens and revitalization with staff and students. A lot of the public works have removed a lot of wood debris through the village and started the chipping and wood chipping area. Again, to a number of the streets where there was some lower branches they've been going through and cutting, and we'll continue that process through the month. Garbage pickup at Waterfront Park and the splash pad has significantly increased. There's a lot of pickup right now, not only on the weekends, but during which means that there's quite a bit of traffic down, which is great. So good supporting piece of data for that area. As well as we did buy, Public Works did purchase some new garbage cans, which were painted, and we're gonna be logoing with the village logo and replacing as end of life units. There are a number that have been identified that we do need to replace. As once the signage comes in, we'll be able to do that. And then tree trimming along the village on boulevards and properties that could go the month. The vehicles, the inspections and audits, all vehicles were audited and they were performed. Everyone was nothing was found. Vehicles, the Public Works garbage truck saw a critical failure and required to be towed to carrier. Repair took a little longer than normal, and the truck was put back in service. As a result, with the dump truck being off or being unavailable, we did miss one compost pickup. And due to the nature of the repair, we were going to miss a second, so we did ask Marcotte we contracted Marcotte to go and do the pickup the next week from that part. At this point, the vehicle is repaired. We're back in service, so. And then also vehicle number 4 was returned to carrier for its annual inspection, required some minimal repairs, but it's back in service now. Maintenance on lawn cutting equipment occurred throughout the month. Again, it's your as the units are becoming a little bit older, so we're just making sure that the maintenance is being kept up as much as possible to extend the life and as much as it is. And again, no issues with that. Monthly health and safety reports, inspections occurred. Nothing in security, nothing in community feedback. Negative. I mean, we've heard some very positive comments of how well things are going, and we get the I do like when the staff are physically met by someone saying, you know, it looks great. The village, that's a wonderful pat on the back for them. Looking ahead, preparing for Canada Day in the village is underway right now. Staff have reviewed the details that are necessary, and all the timing is set, and we are properly staffed for that event. So that'll be an exciting day. Roads, parking lot, and line painting are going to occur within this month, the month of June and July. I've spoken to staff, and we've got the areas identified on what we would like to do. Paint is purchased, and we're going to start with white paint, looking at crossbars, as well as some of the lines in parking lot lines that are looking to be quite faded. And then we'll move to different colors, and we'll move throughout the village accordingly to be able to drink that. New 4-way stops at Charles and Arthur and Charles and Louisa will be installed in the month of June. And road sweeping is occurring. In fact, I got a text today saying it started today. So closing comments. Again, special thanks to Red & Co for supporting the Humane Society fundraiser. Again, they did a great job, and I think the village supports that. And it was, you know, almost doubled in terms of its support. The show was great. And then we had the first of 5 village vintage in the village car shows. Two students and myself were down setting up the waterfront park to support the event. Approximately 80 vehicles came. The organizers felt, just because of the weather, it wasn't as well attended as you'd think. The mayor was down, as well as Councilor Mondu was down as well. I thought it went really well. It's a little shot of rain, but it was nice to see. It was nice to see. So, and they were very pleased with the location as usual, and the assistance from the village, and I look forward to next month.
Which is this month.
Which is this one.
Any questions?
Hey, first of all, I got a couple things. So, at my meeting yesterday with Alzheimer's, I'm part of this day program committee, and they were talking about the age friendly and how well it went, and how happy they are to be back in Point Edward. And the fact that the goal had been 100 members, and they have over 106.
106.
Yeah. So they said everything went really well. And happy to be back in Point Edward. I liked the work that was done at the tennis courts. That, you know, we had the complaint on where they were parking, the same as last year, and that fencing, that what do you call it, chain, looks good.
Yeah.
And the signs, it looks really good. And then I drove by a couple of times, and people, like, they have to adhere to it, because you can't get by the chain. But it really does what it was intended to do. I had a question, so because you don't have the history, but the garbage pail on Fort Street, which is set up right by the trail,
Yes.
and cars pull up from the yacht club or from the water plant, or just, you know, fishermen
Yes.
and put stuff in the barrels. Well, last week, somebody moved the barrel to the other side of the gate.
Oh.
And I think I get what they're doing,
Right.
but I don't think they realized how much it's used by cars that pull up.
Mhm.
So you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's been put back over by the sidewalk. So you have to get out of your car and you have to walk around. We had so much garbage there at one period of time in the summer that they added a second pail. So just, you might want to consider that, because last Sunday, the pail was overflowing and garbage wasn't picked up till Tuesday. So I think that's what happened. They saw the garbage and the overflow and they moved it to the other side of the gate, but that,
It's not solving the problem.
it's not solving the problem and it's inconvenient, but we did go to 2 pails. Because it's just sort of, and it's anybody on the trail too, it's a major point of dropping garbage, so.
No, thank you. I will
Yeah.
mention that to staff and I'll
Yeah.
ask them to put a second pair.
Yeah, and the car show, I mean, it was done well, it's just, it was spitting rain and some people, they're very sensitive to the wet on the cars and some people pulled out early and. So if we have, you know, a different weather event at the end of the month, they'll have more cars. I think that's all I had. Just reminder of the date, what's the date of our Canada Day? I'm just want to say.
June 19th.
June 19th, okay. At 5 or 4?
4.
4 o'clock, 4 till 8, I just want to public service announcement. I think that's all I had.
Yep. Thank you. Move to receive and file.
Maybe, can I just say, ask one thing? You said sweeping was gonna start.
It started today.
Can we get something out for the residents to tell them not to park on the road if possible?
I agree. Yes.
We,
I know my block, my block probably won't get sweep. Because there's cars there from 7 till 5:30 usually. So,
that reminded me, that communication about the street sweeping. The other point that I wanted to bring up is, what are we doing for communicating about the new 4-way stops? So we want to like start getting messaging out to let people know.
So I spoke to the county to identify what type of messaging that was necessary. Their communication back to me was just put up a new. There's a specific distance that is in the reg,
Right,
new stop sign.
Right.
And then that's it.
and that's what we did at the school.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
There was no
On Albert
date that it's
Street.
gonna start. There was no, they have no history of doing anything
Okay.
along those lines. So I
Right.
will follow the direction from what the county had mentioned to me on doing
I was
that.
just thinking of constant
And-
contact,
and
we could talk
We'll
about.
still
the
do
sweeper.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, so
that's
like,
what, they could mention the sweeper,
Correct.
mention the cars on the road, and then
Yes.
talk about the 4-way stop, so it's
Yes.
kind of informational.
yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I can work with the CAO and draw some documents.
That was the other one I had, was about communication, and
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah, apologies on the switch. I had literally got text before I got here saying that he started. I asked that they provide some information so we could do that, but that's
So it's already started.
it started as of this morning, so he'll be here for a few days, but yeah, we can get some communication out.
Sorry, Paul, it's,
That's okay.
I had to remember that last one.
Great, I guess we can move on to St. Clair Street reconstruction update.
That I put it up on the screen, Mike. Make it big.
What was up? What I'm saying.
That would be hard.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Again, this is a report, just an update in regards to the St. Clair reconstruction project as it's seen through the end of the month of May. And provides the operations committee recommendation that we received and filed. Co-construction, again, under the administration and support of Dobbin, has continued on the phase, which we would understand as phase 4, which is the intersection of Michigan and St. Clair, working down to Alexandra. They have completed during this phase, construction temporary water lines were installed along the route from St. Clair Street in Alexandria down to St. Clair and Albert, just to make sure that, they could actually start to do water main repair and replacement as necessary down in those spaces. All fire, we have hydrants that are available for all details as well down there. The hard surface removal extended from St. Clair Bridge. And it meets up with the work that was completed as of last year. The intersection of St. Clair and Michigan uncovered unforeseen infrastructure issues that we ran into some water and some sewer issues down in that space. Everything was discussed through the engineer and through the village as well as COPE, and it was resolved. Resolution was approved. We've moved forward with that. Next phase of construction, we'll see the forming of the curbs, sidewalks, replacements of all the hard road surface. A number of that aspect is to date. The contractor continued to replace underground services as directed by the project. All the traffic controls again have been set in place, and they've done a really good job with making sure that that's all being monitored and adjusted as some of the requests from local businesses are. They're there to make sure that we can remove a sign back just to help support the business, and we're happy to do that. Weekly meetings between the contractor and engineer and the village staff continue. Really good communication. I'm very proud and pleased to see that. Weather slightly hindered, but we've only had a few rain issues, but it has not delayed the construction at this point. The current phase of construction will extend into and through July. The contractor will continue to move south and east along St. Clair Street as directed by the project. Activities scheduled in June include the removal of and replacement of water services and catch bases as laid out again in the project itself, as they narrow the road with bump outs and such. Temporary closure of Michigan and St. Clair will continue into June, but it is scheduled to reopen hopefully within the next week, depending on the services they're looking at opening that space back up and allowing for traffic to come. Our Dobbin continues to review all existing work along Light Street in the bridge corridor. Upon the review, there was a few concerns that were raised to staff. We did talk about the design curve at the bottleneck within that space. They did suggest not moving the catch basins, and they were able to work just in front of one of the businesses and just redesign that curve enough to widen it to the proper specifications, and it will help with any bottleneck here since that has been completed. They were also concerned about the intersection of lane and light on the north sidewalk with no tactile plating, no egress going as they cross the street. That will be addressed throughout the summer, depending on it's as time allows. We'll go down to that space and work through that. Staff very pleased with the pace and the quality of work and the communication. It's been great. Dobbin continuing to expect all the work in phase one and determine if there's anything else that we need to work on. These repairs, any repairs on the phase one aspect of the project will be looking at the warranty for the contract. Are there any questions?
Will you just remind me? I think I heard it, but Michigan and St. Clair intersection where the crosswalk is going,
Yes.
when, like they filled the hole in, so they're starting to move away from that area?
So Michigan and St. Clair, all the curbs as of early last week are in place. We'll begin looking at hard surface installation this week. So concreting, they do have to pull out some additional sidewalk panels, but those will all be replaced. The hard surface in terms of the asphalting will also occur. On the Monday meeting, there's a number of details that depend. Weather will be a potential issue just because it could potentially rain this week. They were hoping to get some hard surface in by the end of the week. So, but it's definitely within the next 10 days as well.
So by our candidate.
Yes, that is the goal is to make sure that intersection is open by that.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect, thank you.
Yes.
And then we're not gonna start the next intersection till after.
Till after,
Correct.
which
And
would
then we'll
be,
try and do that one between Canada Day and Civic Holiday.
that's month,
And then the
right?
fourth intersection. Yes,
Yeah.
most likely.
Most
Correct.
likely month.
That is correct. Yes, Monk will be the next one.
Okay. Thank you.
Has the contractor made any comments about people driving through the closed areas? Has it been a problem?
Not since the Michigan and Livingston saw the most issue with that. I believe having the area completely fenced off has eliminated a lot of issue in terms of driving into the active construction zone. There are still a number of people who maybe just don't see the signage, will drive up to the fence, know they can't go back and then back out and such, but we haven't seen any major fractions that way.
Okay. I just still spend a significant amount of time on St. Clair Street and just working outside.
Mhm.
And I'll see a vehicle come around the corner and then drive down and then turn down Albert Street. And I'm just wondering if people know that if they went down Helena Street, they could get the same intersection where they're driving through a road closed. And it kicks up a lot of dust for everybody in the neighborhood.
It does.
And I'm just wondering if that had been brought up by anybody else.
It hasn't, I haven't heard that as yet, but I can certainly look into the municipal 511 and see if there's a detouring that can be put into that space to allow people when they see it on Google Maps. Or one of their mapping devices that will allow them to understand that there's a secondary detour they can use.
Yeah, no, it's happened a few times where I've been in my vehicle leaving on St. Clair Street, watch someone come around, I wait for them, and then they just turn down Albert Street. And they live in Point Edward. And I can't understand why they would just come down the dirt road like that. And if we've maybe remind people not to drive on the road closed, you know, if you live there, local traffic,
Yeah.
or you have business there, you're delivering a package or something, but it's incredible how many people just drive down that dirt road and just, again, with the dry weather we've had, and it just kicks up a lot of dust unnecessarily.
We could look at some communication if that's for sure.
Okay, well, I have you on this one too. Where I live, I like to sit outside a lot, and I'm on the corner of Alfred and Victoria Street. And the corner at Albert, I can see it from my house, and I can't begin to believe how many near misses there's been because people drive through the stop sign on Albert, or they stop on Victoria where there is no stop sign, and then create a near miss because someone thinks it's a four-way stop and a person coming the other direction. Is there any way we could ask just every once in a while for some enforcement on that corner? It is dangerous. One day on a Saturday, I think just sitting outside for maybe an hour, I think I saw 5 near miss collisions, people either driving through the stop sign or the people that stop at the imaginary stop sign and create a near miss by someone thinking that everybody was stopping.
I did see the OPP one day parked over watching that corner.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, that was just one day,
yeah, and it really,
so they're aware.
it seems to be on the weekends more than anything, but it just was, I couldn't believe there wasn't a collision on all the near misses that I saw. Or at least, I don't know how you get people to pay attention when they drive, but it just was mind boggling how many times it happened, and it's quite dangerous.
As previous conversation we were having was Victoria seems to be, it is the detour route as it stands right now, but also due to some construction aspects that are happening down in that space.
It was really jammed.
It's
with vehicles.
become absolutely very
Yeah.
congested in
Yeah.
that, yeah.
They had all their service vehicles
Mhm.
and it's narrow to begin with, and then you've got all the crowd coming up to turn and use Victoria. It was a lot.
Yes.
Okay.
But no, thank you, I can speak with CA.
Yeah, I don't know if we can, like I said, I don't know how you get people to pay attention, like I've driven in towns where I didn't live and managed detours and well, saw stop signs and I stopped, but I don't know how people get distracted so easily, but I just hope nobody gets hurt, especially pedestrians, because it's a pretty heavy area for kids going to school and just, you know, wherever.
One other, and just again, to put it on record, like, I believe you said you expect all the crosswalks by the 1st of July, the materials are in and get installed,
That is correct. I spoke to.
the ones for Michigan Ave.
Yes, I spoke to the contractor yesterday. He believes that by the end of this week, he will have the hardware to be able to install them. 3 of the units will be available, so we should not have any issue with installing Livingston, St. Clair almost immediately, once those areas become available, and then we'll have the availability for month. There are 2 more units that have been ordered, so by the time we get to Alfred, Albert Wheel.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anxious to see what it looks like. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We'll move on to Michigan Ave construction project update.
Okay. What can I help you with that? Okay, again, this is the recommendation to be received and filed. The description is just a report again of the Michigan Avenue reconstruction project, which is again, of any of the three intersections that are not included into the project. COPE under the administration and engineering support by Nobbin has begun has finalized the first phase of the Michigan and Livingston area. As the contractor completed all the hard surface installations, concrete road surfaces, well within the time frame laid out in the project. All resurfacing and ground grass areas on the south side of the site have been completed. All line painting for the intersection has also been completed, as well as the parking stalls as per the design. The intersection still does require the PXO-C style, as previously mentioned, but they will be installed. It does say installed by July, but I'm hoping they'll install at the end of the month is what I've asked for. Working with the timelines and the other locations are really determined by the construction project. As we just mentioned, as St. Clair opens up, we will allow for the kind of a breather, so that we can have the Canada Day festivities and such after the beginning of July. We'll then look at closing Monk Street for its complete closure for the timeline that will be identified. Open it back up for Civic, and then look at Alfred to be able to make sure we can get that one done previous to school starting.
Those two intersections, Monk and Alfred, should go fairly smoothly because there's no underground work. Or very little underground work. Where Michigan Ave and St. Clair, there was major catch basin work had to be done. So the other two should go a lot more smoothly.
Yeah, the one, as we mentioned in the Monday morning meeting, the Monk is a larger intersection, so there's just gonna be a lot more removal of hard surface on top and then just doing the bump outs and such. But it shouldn't be extraordinary, it should be just above, and then Alfred is a smaller one, so it should go very good. Okay. Any questions on how to answer?
No,
None. Thank you.
okay, we see and file that. And then move on to operations department capital budget update.
There we go, perfect, thank you. I was with this memo, the idea was to just kind of give a monthly update on how the budget is going. I know there's been a number of questions that sometimes get identified in each one of the monthly reports, but I just thought an individual memo would be more supportive for these type of details. So we had a recommendation that this is received and filed. Description again, monthly updates on all the capital items that were approved for 2025. So if I go through the list here, I've broken them down into arena, parks, and then the public works. With the arena, we have the Olympia Reserve, which again is a capital item, which is meant for replacement at the end of life for the Olympia unit, which is the cleaning machine, the cleaning machine for our arena, for the ice surface. Secondly, we've got the community hall table replacement, so there has been competitive pricing that's come in. And the aspect will be to put a purchase order or a request for that to be by the end of this month. By the end of this month being June. Annual structural review. So this capital item was just as a memory for a reminder. Every 5 years we do have to have an inspection done, a structural inspection. It's done by Art Dale. The report that came back last year identified a number of structural components that it was suggested that we look at. Those details have been broken apart, and we've looked at the highest, what is considered the highest concerning issues. We've started to get some pricing to repair those, and that will be completed as the radiance is in a low state previous to property operations in September. Community hall security cameras, again, quotes have been for this project have been put into place, and I'll be working with the arena staff to be able to make sure that that gets in. There was some potential change in the project scope, and so it's, that one's still up in the air, but we will be looking at that one and getting it done before August. Exterior door replacements, 3 of the individual door systems that were identified, comparative quotes, and the work is actually beginning. And in the gym, so the pole replacements, as mentioned previously, that work is completed. New wattle or excuse me, new bottle filling station installation. The quotations, I'll be meeting with another vendor later this week, actually tomorrow, just to get a secondary quote on that. And then hopefully if the quote comes in within the budget that we're looking at and what I'm comfortable with, we could pull the trigger on that right away.
Would you remind where you're expecting to put it?
That would be located on it'd be kind of the southeast corner. The current one is
So
behind.
towards dressing.
Correct,
Okay,
yes,
thank
but
you.
one dressed in one.
Yeah, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
But yes, well, the idea is that, this, this month of June, we're looking at installation. Depending on the part, the sourcing part. The parking lot depression, discussions with Public Works, Environmental Services, we're gonna investigate that internally before we go out and try to. Identify it if it is a catch basin issue or if it is just a depression, if there is just an issue that we can take care of internally, we'll be doing that for the summer. Parks and lighting repairs over at Waterfront Park. Moving into the park section, so the lighting repair upgrades at Waterfront Park, the individual LED lighting. I was speaking again to Blue Water Power yesterday. They have extensive experience in this, so I have individually been looking and speaking to some of the vendors in town to be able to see if there's something we can utilize, as well as the current vendor of the poles themselves. But Blue Water Power has a couple new ideas that might be beneficial to the village in terms of lighting replacement for that. So I'm just getting working on some technical components behind it, but once we can identify that, we will start to move forward in the project. It's really just maximizing efficiency. It's the detail because it is a large project that involved in it. The McCray backstop, which was a carryover, all that work has been completed in terms of the additional fencing that was in the space. Park pathway repair, carryover. There's a number of spaces that are very heavily trafficked that I don't believe will be beneficial for us to be able to start doing repair on right away. And I'd like to see it maybe as traffic starts to die down or early fall, and then we can get those spaces repaired. And a lot of them are Waterfront Park areas and depressions and flows that I want to make sure that we can take care of. And that's why I put a date of September or early October. Excuse me. Waterfront Park Reserve, again, this is a capital item reserve for the replacement of the park and any associated equipment. For the Columbia River 2028 and 150th anniversary. The halftime pickup, I've reached out to 6 different dealerships. I received a number of quotes back, and I just wanted to identify the best vehicle that will support our fleet. And that's by the end of August, I'm hoping to have an order in place or a vehicle in place to be able to do that. Catch basin inspections, that is work with environmental services, and that is the deep inspections, lifting them, it's making sure they're sucked out and making sure there's no cracks. And it's an annual detail. Again, it'll be completed more in the fall. As traffic and as the project in St. Clair winds down and as the flood comes into place. So. And then the cenotaph monument, we have the decorative. I did receive a quotation for a replacement of the east and west decorative fencing at the monument at the Veterans Memorial. It is it's in pretty rough shape at this point. The quotations that are received to be able to match what is there does exceed the budget pretty dramatically. So I'm looking for some additional options to see what we could potentially do with that space. I do know that there's some flex space that we're also looking at as an administration, so I don't want to pull the trigger on so we can kind of identify that our next meetings are what we're thinking. But again, just trying to get some numbers to help support them.
Just observation question. Do we need a fence there? Because you can walk through the gate and have access to the monument. I've always wondered that. We have this beautiful decorative fence and they open it up for Remembrance Day when we lay the wreaths. But you could easily you walk around. In fact, people do. When the wind blows over one of the wreaths, someone walks in behind and sets it up again. I'm just curious if it's something that needs to be replaced. Just asking that as an honest question.
Mhm.
What purpose does it serve?
I think we should probably ask, like, the ex-servicemen's club.
Yeah.
If there's a specific significance to the fence. I mean, it's a great question. I don't know the answer.
Same, I'm with the same mindset, if it served a purpose, I would understand it, I know that it's a wonderful monument.
What's the number, Mike, to replace it?
Well, $30,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I don't know over the years if it was protect against a vehicle, if it skidded off the road or something, like
Yeah, I don't
like I'm
know.
not
It's just-
asking to say we don't need it, I'm just, this is
It's
just one
always
of
been
those
there and I never questioned it.
curiosity questions,
Yeah.
because there's a gate, you can walk right in behind it.
Mhm.
In fact, I haven't been exploring old photos on the Lansing County Archives, and there's I think that fence is like original from day one when they
Yes.
erected that monument.
Mhm.
So, because there was no arena in the background, one of
Yeah.
the old photos that they had. So it's served us well.
Well, and then with the potential expansion of that park, right? We-
That's
that
what
land,
I
do
was
you-
alluding
do
to.
you
Yeah, how
wanna-
far do you go?
Like, yeah, how, do you wanna separate the monument from the rest of the park by a like?
Yeah,
Or
something that
have
makes
matching
sense.
fence, so you maybe don't wanna go to expensive fencing when we're gonna do another section.
Yeah,
but even in Ottawa, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier,
Yes.
you can walk right
Yeah,
up
there's no
there.
fence
It's
around it.
open,
Yeah.
you know, it's a beautiful monument,
is.
and it's,
Wonderful.
I don't know if it's something that we do need to replace.
Mhm.
But I'm just, it's really early days, but with the other section, it may be, depending on what your events are, you may wanna have fencing to delineate and keep it separated from the road.
Mhm.
Like say you had kids or something,
yeah,
I don't know that I'd want it open to St. Clair Street
Mhm.
in the additional piece.
yeah.
I don't know.
Other parks are.
I
Open.
believe it'll be interesting. I think.
Well, yeah, I guess, no, Library Park is
The li-
fenced,
Not all parks
not
are
all,
open, but
right.
some are,
yeah.
like McCray, not McCray,
Well, McCray Ballpark is, like the
McCray.
ones that are just playgrounds
yeah,
aren't open.
right,
Simpson,
yeah, that one's not gonna have a playground.
no,
Veterans Park,
no.
yeah, I mean, it's just,
yeah,
Just
Just
throwing it
something to
out
think
there
about,
as
just-
a,
yeah,
you know, is it necessary?
Well, that's, I think just getting some pricing to be able to look at if the pricing was to mirror something similar to what was there, just so that we have a ballpark understanding of what we'd be looking at if we did need to replace it. I will be interested to see after the St. Clair construction with the pathway that is down into that space, what that looks like, because that's gonna open up a whole
Right.
bunch of the frontage off of that. That might give a better understanding and viewpoint of what that would look like.
Mhm.
And
And I think we do a good job of educating young children how solemn a monument that is,
Mhm.
you know, from kindergarten at
mhm,
Bridgeview School, you go to the Remembrance Day ceremony and kids are educated on that. It's not something you climb on or anything like that, so,
the space. So,
okay.
Moving on to the Public Works, the crack ceiling, I did speak to our staff in regards to this and identify the most the strongest locations that would require some crack sealing, so we have been in touch with the county who does support us in that, so
mhm.
we're looking at getting that done June, July, depending on the county schedule, if possible. Otherwise, I can reach to the city and see if there's some support that way to be able to help us, as they have the capability to do it very quickly and easily. Heavy truck reserve, again, the capital item to meant to the replacement of the truck. Christmas lights down Light Street, so I did have an exploratory conversation with Blue Water Power, as that is on the south side of the street where the new pathway is. That's where we'd be looking at putting some lighting. It is high voltage. Blue Water Power doesn't believe that there would be a particularly large issue if we were just to put them at a certain height. It would just be more of how would they be powered, if there was solar in the middle, if we have to find something different. So I will continue to work with Blue Water Power to find out the best infrastructure that we could look at, and then I'll bring it back to the committee and identify what the next stages that we feel would be the best way to go.
Thank you.
And then again, like Michigan traffic intersections, that was updated in independent memo. Public Works building maintenance, line. So, I have contacted some vendors and it's more for just the major roll-up doors and some of the exterior doors that just require some love there. You can see that those units haven't been worked on in quite a while. So there's just some significant repairs that will be necessary, and those will be completed by the end of September. Venetian crosswalk. This one, all the concrete work in the tactile plating is completed. It has been repainted at this point, and again, in conversation with the water power, we're just waiting for the equipment, which again, as I mentioned earlier, should be in hopefully this month, and we'll be able to get that up and running. So we'll have a nice new PXOB in that space, which will be exciting. It's nice to see that. Again, supporting quite a bit of the people that are down in that space.
And the new people.
That's right. Yes. And then finally, the village roof maintenance program. So I have, there's a consultant that I have contacted in regards to the roof inspections. He has, this person has done a lot of work in the village already and has the roofing information for the arena and for the fire hall. But the idea is to get him to do all the other village owned properties and just put it into a roofing maintenance program, and just have that one-stop shop. That I've used them in previous work, and they've done a great job there, so. Any questions?
No, it's comprehensive. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do have one delayed question from the previous survey. No barbecues. We talked about signs because of the incident down at the waterfront.
Yes. So the CAO and I spoke
Yeah.
earlier this week. I have the bylaw information. I have sent that information off. Cedar Signs will have to have those made specifically for us. Once I get that proof back, I will order accordingly.
Okay, so it's moving forward. I
Yes.
just wanted to.
Thank you.
Touch point. I-
Sorry for not mentioning.
No, but the night of the card show, I actually walked up to the
Yeah.
sign and went, I would have sworn it said no barbecues, and it doesn't. The one at the pavilion
Mhm.
doesn't say anything about barbecuing. I swore that it did, but anyway, it will eventually.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Move along to traffic data.
I didn't think I was getting off that easy. So speed out there. Perfect.
You do go to the extent of the hard work involved in creating all these graphs and
Yeah.
data, so.
He likes to
hear all
display it.
about it.
Thank you. Actually, if you wouldn't mind bringing up the graphs, I think I'd like to, they're easy to support in terms of the conversation, for the words here. It was interesting, as I go through this every month and just take a look, there's specific trends that I notice, and then there's every now and then there's like, wow, that was kind of an outlier. I was kind of surprised by that. So this month was an interesting one. Is that Front Street? Is that?
No, this is Michigan.
Okay, perfect.
I can bring front.
No, well, if you could, actually, I'll go front, Michigan and Venetian if possible. So again, this report, recommendation be received and filed, again, monthly speed analysis for Michigan Front and Venetian. Just giving a full review of all these locations, a monthly analysis, and then continue to try to refine some of the analysis so that we can get as much good data as absolutely possible. With Front Street, as was spoken in last month's committee, we ended up turning that sign around, and we did notice a pretty dramatic change in terms of this. This month itself was really interesting because the traffic patterns almost equalized, and I've never seen that in the year that we've had this particular route. Typically, traffic flows from north to south on as you can see on the average, it's a large average, almost 60% in some cases. This month, it was 50-50. The traffic flow both ways were equal, and I have yet to see that. And I don't know if that is not only a culmination of the construction down in Michigan and St. Clair, but also that sign being turned. There was some interesting data that came from it. Again, when you're looking at the traffic and the speed distributions, in the analysis, the average was 66% of the traffic that was traveling inbound, which conformed with speeds, and 3.8% was excessive. So again, 60 and over. This is significantly lower than the months we've seen before, which was really interesting. So it's that traffic coming coming inbound was that one really kind of threw me for, it's nice to see, it's people conforming more to the speeds that that are in the area. When it comes down to the traffic flow from last year, the numbers are somewhat consistent with that. Conversely, 51% of outbound traffic conformed to the speed, and 5.6 showed excessive speeds. So this is quite a bit lower. So you can see that, again, turning that where people are not able to see their speeds, they're speeding quite a bit more. It's that visual marker, that visual liner is there, and it is showing very strong. And you can see even the data points on the average speeds here, where the blue is the incoming and the orange is the outgoing. Once we turned it, you could see how people
Matching.
just their habits changed when it came down to that. And then the traffic volumes on the last bar there in May, they're almost equal. So it's really, really wild to see. And then even the incoming and outgoing speed, you can see that the distributions are quite a bit different. So that one was very interesting. I found was.
I just like them as a visual reminder. A lot of people,
Yeah.
they're not terrible people. You just don't realize how fast you're driving.
So it's very true. In Front Street being such a wide open space, and it is a transit space from Michigan downtown, and vice versa. So that was an interesting one. Moving on to Michigan. With again, when we're looking at the speed distribution factoring in the analysis, 77.5% of the inbound traffic was slower, 50 or slower, and then 1.7 showed excessive speeds, 6-year high. These numbers both trended lower than the month, and they correlate with decreased traffic volumes along the route. So it's again, as more people transit that space, it's slower and slower and slower, which is again nice to see. I do appreciate that, and I don't know if it's the traffic itself that's slowing it down, or just as people are just more mindful as they come down that space. Michigan tends to be it's a heavy transited route, but they do conform with the speeds as that traffic increases. About 7,100 vehicles a day are in that space. Which when we looked at it, correlated year over, is down significantly, but I believe the construction has a lot to do with that. There's 5 additional routes down in that space. So, conversely, 70.6% of the outbound traffic, again, leaving the village core, conforms to the speed with 3.2 showing excessive speeds. Again, like the incoming traffic, there are slower, they're decreasing, which again, the graphs also show that, which I'm pleased to say that it's a fairly safe route. So I'm pleased to see that. Venetian, the average traffic data, again, for this, Venetian is a very well transited route, but it is very well conformed. 77.2% of traffic inbound into the village at speed, and 1.5% of the people exceed. So it's certainly not a raceway. It's very, very well traveled. And again, I believe that's supposed to be 77.5 on the outbound. I've done a typo in the message here, and then 1.8 it shows excessive speed. So about 3,800 vehicles a day transit that space, and it's very pleased to say they conform very, very well. And again, the data supports that strongly. So, any questions?
No, are you gonna turn the sign back around?
I can. I'm looking at different ways of potentially identifying the analysis. So one of the things I'm working on is trying to break it down to when I can see some serious excess speeds, and breaking it down on the hourly basis on individual areas. More along Front Street, I think, is the key. But we do see some excess speeds along Michigan in the later evenings, but that might, again, the one-offs are difficult to chart, just because it could be emergency vehicles, it could be a number of different things, but it's
Motorcycles.
so there are,
You have to get the plate number.
that's right. So I am looking at some different levels of analysis, just to maybe make it a little bit more granular, and that I'll have it available. Maybe I'll bring it to the committee, but I'll have the granular details if we do provide it to OPD.
What did you say the cost was for a unit?
$7.
$7,000?
$78,000. Now, again, the mobility of these units are very easy. They can just be taken off the poles and moved to a different location for a few months if we're interested in seeing some different data at that point. We've got a lot of historical data specifically along Michigan and along Front Street. So if it is, we know what the transit, we know what the traffic's gonna look like in this space, so.
There's new little digital speed signs in Canatera. They look like they're cheaper.
There are different models that we can purchase from not only this vendor, but different vendors that literally are just observant. They just show you what the speed
I was
is,
just
too fast, too
thinking
slow.
about how you could have, Front Street always being a major road, you could have the one and then put another one the other direction in a different block. But if it was a cheaper one,
I can certainly
just,
look
wondering.
into it. if
I mean,
you're interested.
it might be just too early, it might be, I keep saying we need to get back to normalization before you start deciding to do this or that. We need to see how everything operates
I would
when
agree.
it's done.
I would agree.
Yeah, and the traffic flows and the four-way stops and things like that, so. That's something to think about. The ones in the park are just, they're on a pole and they're just a square,
Exactly.
but you're not getting any data from them.
No,
No.
I don't believe those units are,
No,
they
okay.
store any data.
Yeah.
just,
Okay. Future thought.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the graphs and how everything's laid out like that. I really enjoy it.
Very
I
visual.
like how it's detailed and very very expressive. I like the colors.
Thank you.
Because the Edmonton Oilers are in the playoffs.
Okay, so we'll receive and file that.
Seconded.
Is there any other new business? I don't have anything. Okay, so we'll move on to,
You put a new number 7 in. Intersection of Victoria and Albert,
We talked about it earlier.
already?
That's the one where Paul,
Oh, Paul, okay.
asked them to watch the intersection.
Yeah, okay, sorry.
I just added in as I go.
yeah, no, I just, again, my personal observations, I tend to observe things sometimes and just
sure.
sitting out there on a Saturday, I was just jumped several times waiting for the crash sound where someone went through a stop sign, and it'd be nice just to, even if it's education, it doesn't, I don't need everybody to get a ticket, but just sit there and, but again, the onus is on the driver to pay attention.
True.
Okay, so we can move to the financial statements now.
I didn't have any questions.
I just had one, there was a line item that caught my eye and it was overtime at the arena already, it seemed.
So during the, we had one of the employees was injured during that time frame, and what we ended up doing was extending overtime to the existing full-time staff as well as the part-time that was at that location to be able to support all the activities. Worked very closely with Derek Lucas to be able to make sure that all activities were maintained and that the arena was supported appropriately, yet looking to do whatever we could with the village to help support the financial as well with that. Was here,
And you're back at full complement.
we are back to full complement at this point, so that was the reason overtime was extensive with that.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear it mentioned because
Yeah.
it does jump out a little bit.
Sure.
and I was aware of that, but that's
So
good.
to be clear, it wasn't an injury.
Yeah.
No, it was a,
Correct.
like it was a,
Personal
There's
surgery.
a-
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Move to receive and file the financial statements.
Seconded.
And our next meeting date will be July the 8th at 10 a.m. for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you.
just give me a minute.